Slayers, we're back counting down the top 5 episodes of 2023. Here is number 3, episode 260, The Journey Behind the Business with Lakia LB Brandenburg. This episode is sponsored by the Using the Power of Your Voice eGuide, your guide to launching your podcast in 30 days. Slayers, are you feeling a call from God to start a podcast but uncertain about where to begin or what you'll need? Creating a podcast can be a fulfilling and enjoyable experience, whether you're interested in sharing your expertise on a specific subject, conducting engaging interviews, or educating and entertaining your listeners. Podcasting can help you establish strong connections and foster a sense of community. Using the Power of Your Voice is a guide to start your podcast in just 30 days, and it's perfect for anyone who is clear that God told them to start a podcast. Whether you're nervous about recording or unsure where to start, this guide will provide you with valuable insights and actionable steps to help you record and launch in 30 days. In this guide, you'll learn to identify your why, find your topic, learn where to host your podcast, and what equipment you need to start. If you are ready to be obedient to your calling and start your own podcast in just 30 days, download your copy of Using the Power of Your Voice today by going to www.slangselfdoubt.com/podcast. That's www.slangselfdoubt.com/podcast. Thank you for your support, and I can't wait for you to start using the power of your voice. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Lakia Brandenburg, better known as LB, the wife coach. Hey Lakia, how are you?
What's going on, lady? How are you?
I am great. So first of all, y'all, we had to have off camera, we were connecting in the fact that she is a Prince George's County native, okay? And so when the PG girls get up, we just it's a thing. Like if you don't know, you just don't know, okay?
Absolutely.
So she said this feels like home, and so that makes me feel good. So Lakia, welcome to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. So generally I like to tell people how I found them. And so I have been stalking you for a while, specifically once I became a wife. So I became a wife in 2014 and, wanted to like when you're growing, you think, but I don't really know for real. Right. And so I started making sure that I was being intentional about finding things that would continue to fill me up so that I could do the best job that I knew how, right? And just like parenting, there's no book and ain't no right or wrong. So you just, process of elimination, that ain't gonna work here. So we not doing that. And so, I definitely started looking into people. And so you were one of the names that came up that I was just watching what you were doing and how you were giving people, why specifically, advice about what they should be doing, how we need to be, checking in on ourselves first and foremost, right? And so just doing that, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pitch her and see what she say. And you said yes. So thank you for your yes, sis. Okay. So I know you because I've been stalking you. But for those who don't know you, LB, can you please let the Slayers know who you are and what it is you do?
Absolutely. Well, I am LB, better known as the wife coach. I am on IG. That's my playground. And one thing I do, I help you to experience marriage in a really fun, exciting way. But you have to change the way you experience it by changing the way you show up in it. I'm a firm believer.
Already,
right? Like I'm a firm believer that all married women aren't wives.
And
all
say
married
that again.
All married women aren't wives. All married men aren't husbands. Everything I say to you, it applies to him too. I'm just talking. I've been to my baby daddy, Derek, for almost 14 years. And one thing I realize is that I haven't always shown up as a wife. There's a clear difference between showing up as a married woman and showing up as a wife. And so once I help women like yourself to understand the difference, you choose to be the difference and you start to experience the difference in your marriage.
That is so, you just saying that, I was like, oh, I might just ask so many questions, right? But one of the biggest things is like, marriage, a lot of people say like marriage is hard, and I don't think it's hard per se. I think, to me, I think it depends on who you're married to, right? But I also think that there has to be some type of awareness of yourself, of being able to say, what kind of wife do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And so even you saying that is like, dang, that's even deeper, right? And so can you explain to us a little bit, like, what does that mean? Like, every married woman is not a wife.
Yes, I love that. So here's the thing. We all want to get married. I'll say
Allegedly.
we all. Some of us do, some of us don't. But think about it. When we are growing up as little girls, we see the Disney, movies. We see the romantic comedies, the Black stuff, and we start internalizing that as this is what it's going to be like. So we fantasize and romanticize marriage. And it's all about the wedding day. I want to get married. And so when we come to our relationships with that mindset, we don't realize we're setting ourselves up because it's more than just the wedding day. You're literally a bride for one day. You're a wife for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Do you understand the assignment? I tell my ladies, I tell my wives and my clients, you got to do your work. Because being a wife is an assignment. Now, you said marriage is hard. We've heard it all. Marriage is work. Marriage is hard. Marriage is, let's just fill in the blank. Marriage is what you make it. So if you don't know what type of wife, what type of husband you want to be showing up in this relationship, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's just going to fall. It's like by default. You get by default. But what you make it is the work that you put in it.
Yeah. Listen, that's the word. Like, I got goosebumps, right? I'm telling you, listen. So one of the things that we have talked about on this show in the fact that self-doubt shows up in every area of your life. Like, when you are really in tune to what it is, like I have shared on here how self-doubt showed up in my marriage, right? And those were things that I had to identify for myself, figure it out, and work through on my own. And so when you are saying that, like, you have to determine how you want to show up, and the fact that you said this is an assignment, right? Because you vowed in front of God, okay, first and foremost, and said, I do. Like, I promise. All of these promises that we made in, like, it's the three of us, really. Like, the people were witnesses, those are your witnesses, but the three of us made this agreement. And so, when it gets to those moments where you're like, it ain't supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be, I don't know who said it wasn't. Right? Like, how do you know, like, what it was going to be, right? And so even in talking about marriages, especially in the Black community, I want to know, like, how does, like, historically, right, generationally, those type of things affect how women show up when they're going into these marriages?
Absolutely. Well, first, it's who was your first example of marriage? That's the very first question I asked my ladies, because one, some had examples, some didn't. Some had examples that were either in their face or not, or maybe even on TV. We grew up, idolizing the Cosbys.
Oh, come on, because that was the only people that we seen.
That was Black excellence for us, right?
Yes.
And they were a beautiful couple. They were an imperfect couple, but it was something about them that just seemed so perfect.
We
wanted to mimic that. And then you get into real life and realize you didn't marry Cliff.
Right.
You didn't marry Claire.
No, not at all.
What I mean? You married a whole nother character. And so I think what happens is we're looking at how marriage has been presented around us. Did you grow up in a single family home? Did you grow up where your parents were married for many years, but they didn't show you what love really looked like? Like, they were just married for the kids, or they were just Mr. and Mrs. married, as I call them. The boring couple. They don't do nothing. They don't, enjoy life together. It's like, this is just the next step in their relationship. So I think it depends on what you grew up seeing and how that pretty much had an effect on your perception of what marriage is supposed to be like. Believe it or not, a lot of the women, we see ourselves as being in control of the relationship.
Now, we're not here to talk about me, LB,
I love
okay?
you.
Like,
I mean, I'm gonna step on some toes, but that's the mindset we developed coming in based on what we saw.
ooh, yeah.
And I was her. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna take a sip. That's why I said, take a sip. Anytime I go in class, we got a glass of wine or something because baby, we gets real. And sometimes the truth is really hard to swallow.
Yeah.
I thought that being in control, Mrs. Controlling, the married woman, that's what I call her, was going to help me get what I wanted. Why? Because that's what I saw. I saw my mother being in control of even how she raised us.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
father didn't really have a lot to do with it, you know,
Yeah.
was intentional or not, who knows? But it had an effect on how I said, oh, okay, so we run this.
Right. Right. And okay, this is for me. Go ahead. Tell me
It's your
about
session,
myself.
baby. This your session.
And like literally, my husband says that like he, Drake's song Controller, like that he sing that, he was like, okay, Controller. And I'm over here saying, like, I'm trying not to do that, but I feel like I don't know any other way, right? Like, how do I get the thing that I need that I think I need? Maybe it's what I think I need, right? And as things have transitioned, we went from, little kids to now we in the teenage years, right? And so even adjusting that, because I have boys, on my side, I grew up with it was all girls, right? And so my dad was present, but he wasn't present because he felt like that's your mother's job, right? Like, I'm not going to do this. And so for me, it's kind of like, y'all are boys. It's going to be some part that I'm going to play in. But for when we at 15 and 13, like these conversations, I don't know. I can't help you past a certain point, right? But at the same time, I'm trying to be like, so what y'all talk about? Did you tell him what I said when y'all went?
Did you say it like this? Or how did you say
How'd you say it? Right?
Taking control. You know what that comes from? All of that stems from fear. Because at the end of the day, you feel that if I don't do it, or if it's not done my way, then all hell about to break loose.
Listen.
And that's a fear.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
really, if all hell breaks loose, what's the worst that can happen? Could you learn a lesson? Could your husband learn a lesson? Yourself learn a lesson by hell breaking loose?
Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist. So it's like,
even though I'm like, I'm
not perfect, huh?
I said, it's a lot of us out here.
Yeah, like I would take the name of my book, my first book. He's not perfect, I'm not perfect, but together we're picture perfect. Like I talk about the imperfections in order for us to create the picture perfect marriage that we have today.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize subconsciously I wanted things to go perfectly. Like I want if you do it my way, I'm in control, then everything is going to pan out the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
However, how am I supposed to learn to be a wife and I've never been a wife before? How is my husband supposed to learn to be a husband and he's never been a husband before? If everything just goes according to plan.
Correct. And it's only according to your plan, right? Because you didn't even ask him, well, how you think this supposed to work out? Nor the children, right? Because when you're raising these kids, it's that you recognize certain things on their end, like they're watching, they're paying attention. And for me, I always say, like, I'm really proud of my generation. We're out here reparenting ourselves, trying to do the right thing, and also gentle parent at the same time, right? So these kids have a little more voice in the household where they're able to share, like, so what do you see? And you be like, is that what I'm doing? And I'm like, I don't think that that's what I'm doing, but if you see it, then I have to be, right? And so just having those conversations are helpful. But this right here just, child. See, didn't I say self-doubt shows up in every aspect of your life? And so the fear of not having control over what it's supposed to look like, so that, right? For some people, it's so that you don't end up divorced, so that you don't, like, you got to figure out what the fear is, that they don't leave you, that you don't leave them, that they don't get bored, that, this was a waste of your time. Did you pick the wrong person? Like that's where you got to get deep with it and really tell the truth, right?
That's true.
So on your journey, how has self-doubt showed up?
Oh my goodness. So many ways. And it's like an onion, like you're peeling back layers of self-doubt. It's shown up in an imposter syndrome, me not really fully owning who I am, what I do, because I didn't say I wanted to be the wife coach, or I didn't say I wanted to, host events or whatever it is that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. It showed up because I would always feel that, well, am I good enough? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Like my husband he's my biggest fan. He's my biggest cheerleader. I actually was a classroom teacher for 5 years, but I knew that there was something more.
Yeah.
I used that time of teaching to write my book. I use my book as sort of like my resignation. Okay, I wrote my book. Now my book is about to open up doors. I gotta go. But the doubt set in because I've never been an entrepreneur before. Mm-hmm. My husband, full-time entrepreneur, the only thing he's ever done. And now I'm like, okay, how do I do this journey called entrepreneurship? My husband gave words of wisdom in this moment. This was in June of 2011, 2012. He said it takes 15 years to be an overnight success story.
That's 15.
So look. I'm like, what? Now I'm telling you, I'm leaving my profession of teaching, and you gonna tell me it's gonna take me 15 years, bruh. You don't see my vision board. You ain't never heard the scripture, write the vision, make it plain. Brother, it's about to happen overnight. What you talking about? 12 years later. Okay, maybe he knew what he was talking about. But do you know that doubt set in?
Yeah.
Hearing those words, like, can I do 15 years?
Yeah.
I had to go through a journey of really learning who LB was. I was becoming the woman that you see here today. This conversation we're having, the woman I am, I had to go through this journey, that 12, 11-year journey that I've been on so far, to really understand who I am.
Yeah.
Who is my message for, my story is for.
Yeah.
Why has God given me this gift to, help women understand the difference between being married and being a wife? Like, why LB? Mm-hmm. Am I qualified? I didn't go to school for this. I got an English. What am I doing?
Yeah.
So there were plenty of times that self-doubt creep right on in. And I'm not going to tell you it's not. It's going to come.
Oh, yeah.
How you face that self-doubt and remind yourself of who you are, whose you are, the things I've accomplished. Little girl, you walked away. You from Hyattsville, Maryland. You did everything your mom and daddy told you to do. You went to school, got good grades, graduated from college. You did everything. Now you out here building a business from the ground up.
Yes.
Never seen it done before in my family, but it's being done. You have to remind yourself of the things you've accomplished. I don't care how big, how small. I have to literally every day, I remind myself of the things that I've accomplished, because sometimes you'll sit back and you start comparing yourself to everybody. Oh God, now where I'm supposed to be. Oh, how they get that? How they this far along on a journey? We started at the same time. That's where self-doubt comes in.
Yeah, yeah. No, that is so good. And I think even like you saying, like you talking to yourself and these practical tools that we have to use to remind ourselves, because it's going to continue. That's why it's called slang, right? It took me, I've only been doing this for 4 years, and when God called me from my job, I was like, to do what? Like, what is it that you want me to do? Like, I did not understand it. And I still don't understand it. Like, I still be like, I mean, I guess this is what we doing. Like, we just want me to keep going. And every single time, like, okay, this is the direction we're going in, right? And so I understand that of saying I did everything right. I got the job. I did the thing, but it's not in me. Like I've said to myself, especially since leaving my job, I was just like, I don't think I could ever work for anybody ever again. I can't do it. Like, I was like, I don't have it in me. I was like, if I'm not in a leadership position in something, like I have to be able to have some type of, and I'm not going to use control, but the word I'm going to use is influence, right? To be able to make influence and impact, right? Like I want to be able to do that. That is what he put inside of me, because I do it naturally, right? And so even being in this space was like scary, because it was like, you want me to tell my business? Yeah. You want me to tell the stuff that I've never told anybody. Like there's a few, like probably the second year I was recording, I did this whole episode on how it took me a long time to love the body that I was in. And it started from one incident in middle school with my sister. She heard the episode and called me and was like, I am so sorry. And I was like, it's not your fault. Like, it just was, it was one of the things, you know how kids be. We moved to a new neighborhood, and I did not want to go outside because I had been living in Landover forever. And then we moved to
Yeah.
Upper Marlboro and you could throw a penny outside and hear it. And I was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
boring, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so she tell me go get the mail. She go out. It's all these kids outside. I try to turn around to go back in the house, and she locks me out. And they're like, "Oh, you really do have a sister?" And they're like, "So she's younger than me. So this is
Yeah.
where that comes in." And so like one of the little kids like drive up, and he's on a bike, and he's like, "She got a half a butt." And so I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like I'm like 12, 13 years old, right? And so
Mhm.
then even from that, like ever since then, I was just
Yep.
like, well, what does that even mean? Like I'm in the mirror, like, well, what a whole butt look like, right?
And how can I get one?
And if I have a half one, like, where's the rest of it? Like, do it come later? Like, do I gotta wait till it don't? But that was the beginning of me starting to like, okay, people pay attention to your body. So you have to make sure things are. And it took me a very long time to realize, like, okay, it's more to you than just that, right? And just even through the struggles, like having to say that out loud was
Yes.
like you want me to tell like that's my secret, right? But it's like, okay, but how many other women are you
That's it.
going to reach
Mhm.
by telling your secret, right? And so even being, taking this space, because I can, like you said, there's no book on how to be married. There's no book on how to be a wife. How did you know that this was the thing? How did you know it was me not teaching you how to be married, but to be a wife?
Yeah, it's crazy because I knew that I wanted to get married, but I wasn't focused on becoming a wife. I
Mm,
think that was the paradigm shift I needed because my parents divorced after 20 years.
mm, mm,
It was a
mm.
bitter divorce. It was their marriage, the last years of it was very just challenging. And
Yeah.
parents used to argue and fight and fuss and cuss and all that stuff. And I knew I didn't want that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my example. See, we go back to
Mm-hmm.
what was your example of marriage? Because
Yeah.
if that was what I thought marriage was, it's a possibility that I would have attracted that.
Right, right.
So I knew once I got married, it wasn't just about getting married. It was about really understanding the assignment as a wife. My
Mm-hmm.
husband and I, instead of spending that first year planning the marriage, or excuse me, planning the wedding, we decided we need to go ahead and get some premarital education and training. It
Mm-hmm.
was more so him wanting it than I'll be honest, because I just wanted my wedding day.
Right.
That year was a game changer.
Mm.
We really sat down to understand, let's plan the marriage out. Let's
Yeah.
plan, what does marriage look like for us? What is the role of a wife? What is the role of a husband? How would this look in our relationship? So it
Yeah.
was really about so when we started seeing this paradigm shift, and my friends were like, well, how y'all making it work? Because it looked on the outside that they were having a good marriage, but on the
Mm-hmm.
inside, they fussing and
Mm-hmm.
busting hard. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we were like, we're not this perfect example, but if I can show you that a lot of what happened in my marriage changed with how I showed up,
Mm.
that's what I want to focus on. I
Yeah.
want to see that I got married, but then I became a wife.
Yeah.
To see that it wasn't about LB being Mrs. Controlling or being Mrs. Nagging or being Mrs. Know It All,
Yeah.
because that's who I brought into marriage.
Right, right, right.
Those characteristics, those qualities were going to run my husband away.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't
Mm.
going to enjoy each other. And I was going to end up being divorced. And I realized what divorce did for me and my sister and how that impacted us. Divorce is
Yeah.
horrible. So why would I want to take my girls? I'm a girl mom. Why would I
Oh,
want to take
okay.
my girls to the same thing? Because I haven't done the work
Yeah.
to be the best version of myself. So I've taken the things that I've done, everything I teach you, all the content you see, that's
Mm-hmm.
helping real life, putting it on blast. Y'all can see what's going on with me. But if that's going to help you to improve your relationship, then my work is being, done.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so good. And I think that like you said, like being able to be intentional about it, right? Because lots of people go to premarital counseling and they do
Yeah,
it just to check the box,
of
right? Like
course.
to say, "Oh yeah, I did it," but to really say, "What is it going to look like?" So, I told you I have lots of
Come
questions
on,
about
come
this.
on with them.
So here's the question, right? Before. No, I'm gonna ask this question for, and then we're gonna get into the wife coach, and then I'm gonna ask it. So, what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before?
I learned that I can be controlling. I've learned that there's some things about LB. My ish stinks too.
Yeah.
I've learned to really be aware and to reflect and be accountable for who I am. Because I used to be the blamer. If you would just do this, then we'll be good.
Right.
I would highlight everything that was wrong with my husband and never take accountability for myself. So I think that's probably the most important. Me being accountable for how I show up, me being accountable for the energy I carry, me being accountable for how I chose to talk. We from the DMV, boo. So if I wanted to give you some attitude or be temperamental, I could do that.
We know how to slice you up.
It's like, but I expect this man to love me, to honor me, to put me on this pedestal, but yet I'm talking to him like a peasant. Like that right there.
Yeah.
Game changer. I didn't grow up like that. I grew up speaking your mind. I grew up, if you pee me off, then I'm going to let you know.
Right.
But then take a step back and say, wait a minute, this is his marriage too. It's not just about you. Be accountable for how you're showing up.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest lessons, and I feel that in my heart and my spirit. Me being accountable, because the relationship I have today, I love my man, my boo, my baby daddy. I love that man, and I know it's because I've grown into the woman that I am today, and that I appreciate who he is and be accountable for the relationship that we have today.
Yeah, no, that is so good, because that takes truth, right, for yourself, and that takes honesty and being able to hear back even from them, like, how do I make you feel? How am I showing up? Right? Don't just tell me no fluff, but tell me the truth so that I can make the necessary adjustment. So we're going to talk about the wife coach, but that's what we're going to talk about. We're about to talk about all things wife coach, and I'm about to ask my question. So my question is, for the women who are listening and who are already married, and they like 5+ years into it, and they like, I mean, this is working for me, right? Like it seems I'm maybe I'm the controller, maybe I'm the nagger, maybe I'm the blamer, but I'm getting what it is that I want. Why do I need to make a difference? Why do I need to change?
Great question. Well, the need is in understanding it's working for you, working for him. See, because everything you just said was about you. Exactly. You're getting your needs met, but have you really asked him? And what's so funny is that women who have that disposition, they will ask their man will think it's a trick question. Like if you go to your man and say, are you happy with me? Do I make you happy?
They're like, what's wrong?
They be like, yeah, you make me happy. Like he like what? Like he couldn't even speak his truth, because you know what? Y'all haven't created the space where y'all can have this real intimate, vulnerable conversation where he can be honest and say, you know what? You are controlling, baby. You know what? At the end of the day, I would want to do more, but it ain't even worth the fight. Like if he is that type of spouse, you might want to check yourself. It's his marriage too.
Yeah.
Is he feeling that he's getting his needs met? Or is it just about you? See, that was me. I came in, it's all about me.
Right.
Now, no, it's about my husband too. I will text my husband and say, how can I make your day better? This is service.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm serving you, you're serving me. This ain't about give and take. This is about me give, you give.
Right.
Because if we're both givers, then what is there to take?
Right.
So I would honestly do I would step back and analyze my relationship and say, can I have this conversation with my husband and ask him, are you really happy with where we are? We've been married for 5 years. Can you see the next 5 going like this? And if so, what are some things that you want to see different? And be quiet and let them talk.
Be quiet.
Ain't that tongue.
Don't interrupt in between when he says something and then be like, well, so I was thinking, right? Like give him his space, right? So then listen, I be knowing the people, right? So then the follow-up question to that is that, well, what if he don't want to change? What if he don't want to, right? So the people just like, I want to, but maybe that fear is that if I do this thing, he's not going to do anything different. He's going to continue to be the same way. And I'm going to feel like I'm putting in all this work and nothing is happening. Nothing changes on his end.
That is so fair. There's a word you used earlier that I thought was great. In lieu of controlling, you said influence.
Yes.
And I think that's beautiful, because a married woman manipulates.
Ooh.
A wife influences.
Y'all, she just punched you right in your jaw. I just want you to know that. She just punched you right in your jaw. A married
That's the
woman
difference.
manipulates,
Yes.
a
A
wife
wife
influences.
influences.
Ooh.
And so the goal here is not to change him.
Mm.
The goal is can I influence my environment?
Ooh.
Not just your husband, my environment. And how do you influence it? By changing the way you show up. See, change starts with you. Well, I gotta always start with me because, baby, you're the one that brought it to you're the one that's having the issue.
Correct.
You're the one that
Correct.
wants things to be different. So now let me show up there. Do you know when I started showing up different intentionally, my husband started showing up differently? Like, now look, I know the words say a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, but baby girl, have you tapped into it?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta know who you are. Because I'm not saying we powerful, but we powerful.
I mean, we are. We listen, we know we can change the temperature in the room based off of our energy. Everybody could be happy and you could walk in that joint with it and everybody would be like, what's wrong with her?
But see, that's the difference in understanding how to manipulate people or influence them. That's being responsible for the power that you have and learning how to tap into it. So I would start with what are some things maybe I need to change the way I talk to him. Let's start there. Forget about all the other stuff. Start with how you talk. I promise you, when you learn to tame your tongue, and it's not just about being quiet. This is something I teach in my self-study course. I have a Teach Me How to Be a Wife self-study course where I'm teaching you everything about being a wife. And that mouth is key. Because when you learn how to use this for good, that man will literally, you'll have him wrapped around your finger. It is not that you want to have him wrapped around your finger. You'll have him wrapped around your finger.
Right. Yeah. And I think the part that we forget and we miss, right, is that the same value that we want, the same adoration that we desire, the same love, kindness, respect, all of those things that we want that we feel like we're not, in my air quotes, we're not getting, right? Because it doesn't look like the way we think it's supposed to look like, right? Has everything to do with what you're putting out. I mean, it goes with everything else. Like whatever you put out is what you're going to get in return, right? And so if you are in a marriage where you are not respecting your husband, but he ain't like disrespectful, right? But you're, you like, I mean, I respect him. And like, but we be knowing, right? We be knowing whether or not we for real about it. And also I was going to say, actually listening when they say stuff, right? Because sometimes we like, he just saying that because he mad right now, right? I remember years ago, probably like the first 2 years of my marriage, and because I am a controller, I'm not a recovering, I'm working on it. I'm working on it, right? But I remember one day being in the car, and I actually was going to a wives small group, right, within my church, and whatever we were talking about had to do with the kids. And he was just like, why won't you let me lead? And I was like, what are you talking about? I let you lead, blah, 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 And then I took that information and I went to the group. And so I was just like, it made me upset, right? Because I felt like, what are you talking about? Like, and you're the, the husband, whatever. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. And so then they asked, like, well, do you? And I'm like, well, in what areas? Like, what are we talking about specifically?
Can we pinpoint?
Are we? And so once I broke it down, I was just like, you know what? You might be right. You might be right that I have just, especially with the children, because my oldest son is his bonus son. I'm like, I was a single mom. I had to be. And then going into it, like, this your first kid. I already know what to do. Let me just go ahead and take. So then I'm just like, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. No, I got it. No, I got it. No, but I have it, right? And so then you don't realize how that I got it is making them feel like you don't need me.
That's it. See, that's why we have to be responsible for how we show up. And like you said, listening. That's why I said, tame your tongue. You listening to him tell him that saying, him asking you, why don't you let me lead? You had to unpack that.
Yeah. It was
you're
a
like,
lot.
hold up. What does that mean? But at the end of the day, look what you're saying subliminally.
Yeah.
I got this, baby. We're going to be good without you.
Yes.
It's a placeholder right now. Like that's what it's communicating without you even realizing it. Yeah. So that's good that you were able to pinpoint it, because that gives you now action. Like I need to change
Yep.
how I'm showing up in this area of our relationship.
Yeah. And we have to, because again, what you said in the beginning is that this is your assignment, right? And so the same intention that we put into our work, that we put into our purposes, God is going to come to you and say, what did you do with what I gave you? That includes your husband.
Mm.
That includes your husband.
Serious business, baby.
It is serious business.
Yes.
So I had to get those questions. I was like, if I would ask them questions, these people gonna be like, you could dig a little deeper. Okay, so the wife coach.
Yes.
What is it that you do? What is it that you share with the people? Let's start there.
Absolutely. So the wife coach, I've been doing this work, for a little over 10 years. And I started taking it, I won't say seriously, but I started looking at ways that I can be more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
It was January of 2019 when I started my Teach Me How to Be a Wife self-study experience.
Okay.
It started as a master class. It was an intensive because I used to teach it live.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is a course that you can literally take on your own and learn everything from your mindset as a wife to learning how to talk to your man. You mentioned the word respect. We know what blatant disrespect is, but I promise you there's some things you're doing right now in your relationship that are disrespectful and you don't know.
Yep.
So it's highlighting those things because at the end of the day, I want you to enjoy your marriage and the one you're in marriage with.
Yeah.
In order to do that, you have to choose who you're going to show up as. Am I going to be that married woman who like to manipulate, who like to be in control, who like to say my way or the highway? Or am I going to be that wife who is vulnerable? Ooh, it's scary being vulnerable. Who is peaceful, who is open-minded, who understands that it's not all about her. See, that's a mindset shift. And when you're ready, see, you were ready for that. You have to be ready. If you're the type of wife that's like, well, where's my husband coach? You may not be ready for the work. Because you're still in the blame game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do it together. Do you have something where we both can show up so I can tell him what he need to?
See?
That's you right there.
That's it. That's right. That's why you need to take it because it's really about understanding. And I wanted my wives to understand who they were.
Yeah.
Like I want you to understand that you can have a happy, fun, fulfilling, meaningful marriage. Love the man you're doing. He's imperfect. You're imperfect, but you both are perfect for each other.
Yeah.
I really wanted to portray that and show that it can happen. Like, y'all, look, I came from a divorced, household. I didn't come from the perfect silver spoon upbringing. No, like the work that I'm doing in my marriage is the work that I'm doing on myself. And the more I show up better, my husband shows up better, and we're in the position of winning. Like this is working for us. So if marriages work, guess what? It's working well.
It's working well. And I think that you had said something earlier about the whole comparison thing, right? I always say social media is a necessary evil, right? But we're watching people's highlight reels, people doing all of these things as married couples, right? And assuming that marriage looks like what you see, whether it's on TV or it's in the movies or it's on there. How do you talk? Like, what would you say to the wife that's like, but I'm not necessarily comparison, but what I would like to do is add these components of all the like I want to pick this. I want this part, the way they talk, the way they travel, the way they exercise together. He cooks, so I don't have to. You know what I'm saying?
It's nothing wrong with that. That's inspiration, right? But I also think it's important for you to know who you married. You said I do, boo. Like that was a decision you made. So you can't expect to say yes or I do to this man, and then I'm gonna make him a project. Okay, I want you like this, I want you to talk like this, I want you to take me here. My husband, one, is not a romantic man. Let me just go ahead and put it out there. So if I wanted romance, I can't force it on him. I can express or explain how important that may be to me, but I knew going in that Derek wasn't the romantic type. Now, my husband over the years have done some really sweet, intentional things.
Yes.
Is it all the time? No. So I think you have to be realistic.
Yeah.
I teach my wives to get out of the fantasy world because a lot of them suffer from the fairy tale syndrome. And I teach you how to live in a reality that you create.
Yeah.
You feel good about. So for me, if you see some things on social media, it's nothing wrong. I want to travel more with my man. But we got to also build this business and make sure the funds are there so that we can Like,
Right.
let's just be realistic. And then we don't know. I'm not saying every couple that we see is having issues, but we are quick to look at a couple and be like, see, they got it all together. They perfect. And do you know what it took for them to take that picture? Do you know they were just talking 5 minutes ago? Do you know when tonight they ain't gonna have sex? Like, do you like we're looking at the highlight reel, which is controlled content.
Yeah, controlled content.
I'm gonna show you my best.
Yes.
I'm gonna make you believe this narrative I'm putting out there.
Yeah. Whole time they ain't even speaking to each other.
So let's look at it as inspiration.
Yeah.
And if those are the things that you and your husband want to come together and create together, then make it happen. If you want to go to a restaurant, don't wait on him to book the reservation. You say, baby, hey, it's a place I want to take you to.
Listen,
you book the reservation.
You book the like you said, knowing who you married is very, very important. If you're waiting for certain things to happen, and that's not to say that you have to put yourself on the back burner, right? Because there were times that I would be like, well, if you don't really want to do that, then boom, I'm okay with not, right? And then eventually I've gotten to the point now where I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to work for me anymore. This is something that I need. I don't need it all the time. I don't need it every day. I don't need it, but these are some things. So if you're not going to do it, don't worry about it. My husband hates dressing up, like with a passion. He does not dress up for work. And it's so funny because my kids think, my youngest son thinks like a button-up shirt, like just a polo is fancy clothes. Like he just be like, why are we gonna get so fancy? And I was like, dude, it's a polo, right? But it's just how this is the age we're in right now. There's just a lot, just comfortability, right? Yes. But if I know that I have to tell him in advance, we are going to this restaurant. You're going to have to dress up. And I need to specify nice shoes, a fully buttoned up shirt, and maybe a tie, right? It's probably like twice a year. And it's just so I can wear a dress.
Correct.
Right? It's fine. I'm okay with it. Not that big of a deal. I know who I married, so I'm okay with it, right? And they do things for us that is not necessarily in their nature. My husband hates flying, but he will get he got on a flight for me. I told him, I said, oh, you must love me. He surprised me with a trip to Houston last year. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. You bought tickets to, how I have to convince you to get on a plane, right? And so I was just like, just you booking the airfare was enough for me. Like, I don't even care what happened. The fact that we're here, you got on this plane, and I know you hate it, was a big deal, right? So those are the give and take things that we do. So I want to give you an opportunity to talk to some of the wives or married women who are listening right now, who there's 3 things that you could tell them that they could start doing today to go from a married woman to a wife. 1 to 3. 3 may be a lot.
I love that. Well, 1, it's understanding that you get to choose who you want to show up as. So you have to make a choice. Everything is about choice. So how I want my marriage to go depends on who I'm going to show up as. As a wife, I want it to be peaceful. I want it to be loving. I want it to be fulfilling. Think of all the qualities, the positive ones that you want in your marriage. And if you're not seeing that, then ask yourself the second question, which would be, how did we get here? Like, take a moment to look at your marriage or your relationship, your soon-to-be marriage. And what are some things that you would change? What are some things that you want to see better or to improve? And then ask yourself, how did we get here? Because there are things that you're doing or not doing. Right where you are. So maybe your thing is communication. I'm big on communication. Like 60% of marriages are ending because people don't know how to talk to each other. So maybe that's a situation of how you got to where you are. Now, knowing to talk to him. And it's not all you, but this is how you can improve your relationship. Right? And the third one will be, what do I want from my marriage? So it's who do I want to choose to be, the wife or the married woman? How do we get here? And then what do I want from my marriage? So matter of fact, I'm gonna make that better. Who do I need to become in my marriage? That's it. Who do I need to become? Because marriage is about becoming. Do I need to become a better listener in this season of my marriage? I believe that marriage happens in seasons. Like, as seasons change, people change. Situations you want to change. So who do I need to be in this season? Maybe you are in a rough patch. Do I need to be more prayerful in this season? Do I need to be more, you know what, more quiet? Like maybe I need to be quieter. Maybe I talk too much and I don't listen. Maybe he needs to ask me what's wrong with you. And you're like, no, baby, I'm just listening. I just want to hear. I haven't been a good listener. I realize it about myself. See, it's all about you being accountable for how you're showing up. Yes. And you have to be aware of the things that you're doing, or because you may be unaware of how you're being perceived to your husband.
Correct.
My husband used to call me Mrs. Fussbox. Do you know that hurt me? It was funny at the moment. Now I was like, and I thought about it. I'm like, damn, I'm always fussing.
Right.
I'm like, whoa. I don't want to be seen as that. I don't want to show up as her. So I had to take take accountability.
Yeah.
Say, okay, well, why am I fussing? Am I communicating my needs, or am I, just letting them know at the moment that I'm frustrated? Or have I sat down to explain why this is important to me?
Yeah.
Is it that important, or am I making everything about me? Is it just my house, or is it their house too? So that was me going back to LB. So those would be the three.
Yeah. No, those are good. And I wanted to ask that because I know that there are people listening or watching that are like, okay, what do I do? Like, she's convinced me that it's me. She's convinced me that I do not want to be a married woman, that I want to be intentional about being a wife. And how can I start doing that? Because I believe that even in, the slaying self-doubt, right, is that there's daily action that we have to take. This is not a quick, like, okay, now I'm going to listen today and
I
got to listen tomorrow too. Then Saturday, and then Sunday, and then Monday, and keep it going. And then you add something else, right, that you need to do. There's different things. And so I think that doing the inner work on ourselves, and I think also it will also show you how you show up in other relationships too.
That's the beautiful thing about the inner work that you're talking about, because where you go, and I tell my wives, the woman you are with your man should be the same woman you are with your friends at work. Like, if you have more fun with your friends, you come home and you like this Mrs. Married woman, we need to take a look at that, because you're not authentic. You're not fully stepped. The LB you see now is the LB I am around my man, around my sister, around my, wherever I go, the energy is the same, because I am truly tapping into my authentic self. So that's very important. And it has a beautiful impact on the relationships that I share with others.
Yes, I love it. I love it. LB, like, this was so dope. There are times where I'll be like, I know the reason why God connected me with the person that I'm talking to, and that there's more. So y'all, I'm gonna just go ahead and say this right now. There's going to be more, because I can see that the tying into this of the number of married women, because now I don't even know, right? I don't even know if these wives out here or not, right? But the number of marriages that I know that people are really, the women are trying to be intentional, trying to do better. But you just don't know. You got all this information coming in from everywhere else, on top of dealing with your own self-doubt of what you brought into the marriage. Like, I already know. I can see this. So LB, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for, I'm telling you, my takeaway for today is a married woman manipulates and a wife influences. Like, that is my takeaway. Like, if I don't know about y'all, but that's what I got out of this. Like, I don't want to manipulate nobody. Yes. I don't like the way it feels when I feel like it's being done to me, right? Yes. So I don't want anybody that I love, the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, to feel like that. So even if you're doing it, and I know some people are like, I'll manipulate. I guarantee you do. I guarantee you do, in some type of way. But LB, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for just giving us the truth today, because we needed it.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me. I mean, this is good talk. I mean, like I said, you may have to pour a little glass of wine and take a sip,
for sure.
The truth can be hard to swallow. However, once you know the truth, it's what you're going to do with it now.
Absolutely. It's definitely what we're going to do with it. There's some things that I already know, like, girl, you're going to get yourself together. So how can the people connect with you? How can they find you?
Yes.
Please let us know.
Absolutely. Well, Instagram is my playground, even though, all that stuff be going on. But
I know.
The Wife Coach is where you will find me on Instagram or at Lakia Brandenburg, also on IG. You can go to my website, lakiabrandenburg.com or thewifecoach.com. They go to the same place and learn more about my self-study course, because my ladies who are married or one day planning to be, the goal is understanding who you want to be.
Yeah.
In your marriage. And in order to become her, you need to know what she is built and made of. So definitely take my self-study course. And if you have any questions, just DM me, teach me, and I'll be sure to answer.
Yes, y'all already know all that information is going to be in the show notes so that y'all can get connected. So current wives, engaged people, strongly dating, headed that way, all of the people before you. Let me give you some advice real quick. You'd rather know before you go into it than to spend the years trying to figure it out when people are kind of set in their ways, right? Like, so that's just gonna be a little bit of advice. Like, just go ahead, find out now. Just find out now.
Find out now.
Find out now. Thank you so much, LB. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.